just want to start off thoughts and prayers with the Zimmer family. You guys know the respect and love I have for that family, so just wanted to say that. Wrapping up the game quickly because we're on to Houston. Thought we battled for 4 quarters, made some good plays, rushed pretty well, covered well, got it to know and pass a lot, which that obviously helps the rush when you can do that, and played a pretty good game. And on to Houston.
It's not like there's a lot of Jordan Davises walking around here. How do you fill that void in the lineup?
Yeah, I feel good about the guys that we have in here. That's, we'd always talk about that's one of the reasons we cross-train guys to be able to plug and fill different spots when guys go down or get injured. So feel good about the room and what we're doing, and those guys will pick up the slack.
Specifically, Marlon, what's he shown you so far this year?
Yeah, he's got a really good anchor. He was one of the guys way back when, when they leave here for the summer, we kind of give them a plan. Hey, this is what you need to improve, and I thought that he's improved what we wanted him to improve at a pretty high clip. So feel really good about Marlon. He gives you anchor. He gives you versatility along the lines in the 3 and 4 down stuff, and you saw he's rushing better this year. So feel really good about him.
What do you think about what was your initial reaction about Robert Quinn's first game with you guys, and where do you foresee him? How are you going to use him?
Thanks, Howie. Yeah, obviously great to get a guy of, the production that he's had, the football character that the guy has, and he kind of did a great job with him, getting him caught up to speed to be able to play in 3 days. Talk about Chauncey, we had like 11 with him. Robert, it was like 3. But he's an extremely intelligent player, and he's played a lot of ball, so it's just putting it into the verbiage of that. And he really walked right into that room and fit right in, and it helps everybody in that room.
John, what do you notice about Dameon Pierce when you guys turn on the phone?
Good question. Good player, man. I mean, really good player. Got a high opinion of him. He jumps off the tape. Typically I don't put up a lot of backs in front of the room and say, hey, guys, like this is the challenge ahead. He was one of them. He's tough. He has vision. He's explosive. He breaks tackles. He runs violently. He can catch it out of the backfield. They deploy him in a good way. The run schemes that they use they accentuate his skill set, which is pretty cool. And we got a big-time challenge.
John, if you look at your defense across the board, improvement in turnovers, sacks, yards per everything, when you self-scouted, and I guess including this last game, what have you identified has been the biggest difference? Is it personnel, or is it schematic changes that you guys have done?
I think our guys, we're just playing good football. We got to continue to play good football with all that encompasses, and that's never, we're always chasing that game where it's completely clean, and I don't know if you ever get to that game where it's completely clean, but our guys know what things we need to improve on a daily basis from game to game. And I think the level of understanding with what we're asking them to do, I think that's the biggest reason for the jump in some of those numbers.
Does Robert Quinn's acquisition enable you to cross-train guys to move inside? I mean, I know you do it anyway, but does that give you more?
Yeah, we always look at whoever has a jersey on game day, how that affects the other people, and there's different combinations that you can use. There's different people that you can put in different spots. But again, those guys have to be smart enough to be able to know that, hey, my role can change when this guy is in. This is what I'm going to be doing, and be able to win, and be comfortable in that role. So, you can put a bunch of different guys in different spots, but if they don't feel good about it or it's not really helping them, you don't want to do that. So really just adding Robert gives us a little more flexibility with how we rotate guys, where some guys can play some different spots, and to keep those guys fresh. So really happy with the addition. Good question.
You guys have not given up a lot of big plays this year. Where does that rank as far as your priorities, and what's kind of going into the improvement you've made there?
High, John. High. That's a winning stat. So, all the stats out there, you guys know I'm not a stat guy, but that's one that I look at. That's one that I look at, and that's why I said I love that the head coach, it's important to him because we're completely in lockstep with that. Taking the ball away in explosive plays, offense and defense, those are 2 winning stats. So we always have that in our mind. Our players have that in their mind. certain situations. You obviously see I call the game with that in mind. And I do know that there's stress and there's a strength of every call. And I think our players have done a really good job of knowing that if a stress point of a call is an explosive play, they play it that way. And, you know, they're not going to gamble and guess or, you know, be super aggressive in certain calls because they know they don't have help and they can't play like that. When there's other calls that the strength of the call is to take away the explosive pass, then they can be a little more aggressive in certain routes. And, you know, that comes down to having really good coaches. They have the players understand within each call what's the stress and the strength of the call, when they can be aggressive and when they can't. So that's an entire that's an entire defensive thing that we talk about with all of our guys, because the quickest way to get beat is the ball going over your head. So our guys know that, and they've done a really good job with it.
When it came to the back seven, did you consider taking some guys out? I know you're banged up at corner, but with the short week when it came to the playing time?
At the end of the game, you're talking, John? Yeah, we talked about it with the head coach. It kind of got in a weird spot where we were backed up, I think, and we're in communication, obviously, with the head coach about that. It just didn't play out like that. You know, I would have liked to seen some guys get in, but how the game unfolded in that last fourth quarter, it just didn't come up. So, but that's a good question. We're always talking with the head coach about that, and typically you don't have that come up a lot. But I know that game reps are the greatest reps for learning. So anytime we can get guys in that we know that are going to have to play for us, whenever, those are quality reps. So liked how that got set up, but it just didn't come to fruition.
I imagine that you studied this Texans roster back in January. Did that process give you any insight that you wouldn't typically have for a short week game?
Good question. Not too much, honestly, because they got some different players. They got some of the same players, but a little bit different schemes, everything like that. So we went through the full process, which was cool is for me and for us and how the head coach structured the last couple weeks. We took that bye week and put a little time on task, because if you don't have that bye week, it takes, you guys know the full prep of work week, that's condensed pretty good. So we did have a little bit of a jump start on them, not overlooking Pittsburgh at all, but we did study them when it wasn't, the clock wasn't ticking for Pittsburgh. So I feel our guys will be prepped and ready to go.
As far as Jordan Davis goes, if he were to miss several weeks here, how does that impact his development and even his conditioning with the ankle not being able to?
Yeah, the strength staff does a great job with him, and he's a guy that they've done a really good job, and Jordan's made a lot of improvements since he's been in the building with that. But you got to get healthy first, and then as he gets the stuff that he can do, they'll do it with him. But when he gets back healthy, ready to play, there might be a little bit of rust, but I don't expect too much of a fall off from how he's been playing.
It looked like before he got hurt, he had a little bit more of an expanded role playing in even at fronts. How does that mean with him out now? What does that mean for the kind of snaps that Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave will have to play?
Yeah, we'll always put a plan together. I think that was a little bit of situationally. We decided some of those calls while he was in on certain down and distances. But, we always, like all our guys, we always put a plan together. Hey, this is kind of where we want the snap counts. This is who's playing in these packages. This is who's playing with who. And as the game goes, you want to try to keep to that a little bit, but it's never perfect. You never set up the game plan and say, this guy's going to get this many snaps and this many snaps, and it comes out like that. But we do have a process that we go through. And I think that those guys that will be playing and picking up his snaps will do a good job, and we'll keep those guys fresh.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.